Welcome to our episode of What's Blooming, where a member of the Bloom team interviews a thought leader or platform specialist to talk about a marketing topic that's been getting a lot of attention lately. Today, we're super excited to be talking about ABM, or account-based marketing, with Rob, strategist at Bloom, specializing in lead generation for both B2B and e-commerce businesses, and Alex, senior client success manager at Hubspot. I really look forward to this conversation, so Rob, I'll let you get started.
All right, thanks, MJ. Hi, Alex. Great to have you here with us again. Alex is a senior customer success manager at Hubspot. So why don't you start off by telling us a bit about your history and kind of how you came to love ABM, account-based marketing?
Sure. Thanks for having me. So a bit about me, I am a senior customer success manager at HubSpot. I've been at HubSpot for over 5 years now. Prior to that, I worked on getting my MBA, and I also, previous to that, worked as a market researcher. So been around a little bit. In terms of ABM, that's something that funny enough, it kind of fell on my radar when a customer of mine decided that they wanted to cancel HubSpot because they didn't think that HubSpot could do account-based marketing. And this was right when I was first starting at HubSpot. So this was in 2016, and the tools come a long way since then. But I was caught off guard because truthfully, I didn't know what ABM was at the time. And I figured I need to start to learn right away because I don't want to lose any other customers to that in the future. And so it's something that I'm self-taught in, but I've spent a lot of time and I helped with the product manager who ended up developing the ABM tool offerings within HubSpot. So I've been kind of a sounding board to help with that. And I've learned over the years with my customers who have stayed with HubSpot and have excelled in ABM that there's a lot to learn and the tool can help. So that's kind of how it came on my radar.
That's fantastic. And yeah, 2016. So if you've known about it for 5 years, probably longer than I've known about it for sure, even if I maybe have been doing some account-based marketing without really knowing it. And maybe some of our viewers also don't exactly know what ABM is. Maybe they're doing it and they don't realize it. So why don't you kind of give a brief kind of description of, what ABM is and what types of marketers, what types of companies would benefit from it?
Yeah. So in terms of a definition, I think that the easiest way to think about it is um, it is a very focused, very personalized, very proactive B2B marketing and sales strategy. So it's really about at a company level taking the time to identify what your best fit prospects would be, and then creating very customized content specific for them and proactively reaching out to them. So that's kind of the difference between inbound marketing and ABM, is that with inbound, you're presenting or creating material that people are finding you and then raising their hand when they're interested. With ABM, you're the one who's doing the research, identifying who you think would be the best fit for you, and then on your own going out and having a marketing sales strategy against that company to hopefully win them as a customer.
And I love that point that it's marketing and sales together, and you really have to have that buy-in from both sides, don't you, for this to work?
Absolutely, yeah. The companies that try to go about it with only buy-in from the marketing department or the sales department, they're really not going to see the same level of success as a group that's united and working together. So I think I know you asked like what are the companies that should be doing that. I'd say like one of them is a good criteria would be a company that has that buy-in from both departments and has the resources available to really commit on the marketing and the sales side to create that ABM team that's just for ABM and just able to focus on that.
And why don't you give us an example then of what an ABM campaign might look like from start to finish? As you mentioned, it takes kind of both sides, sales and marketing. So how would that work in practice?
Yeah, I mean, I'd say it's good to first start off by saying that there is no one size fits all approach for running these campaigns, just because there are so many different industries, there's so many different targets that you're after, and the goals of why a company would be running an ABM campaign can differ too. Like there's some companies that they're doing it specifically to generate new customers, while there are others who use a ABM strategy for kind of an upsell, land and expand type goal, where they're already working with a customer and they want to increase the business. So there isn't a one size fits all, but I would say there are some standard kind of tactical steps that most businesses who are running ABM would take. And if you kind of look at it from a high lens, you would see that it really fits into like 3 distinct categories. There's the define stage, there's the identify stage, and then there's the engage stage. And really what that is up front with the definition side of things, you are taking the time to do the research and come up with a clear definition of what an ideal customer would look like moving forward. Once that upfront work is done, you move to the identify stage, where now that you have the definition in place, you're looking to say, okay, what are the companies out there that aren't current customers of ours that are a good fit for the definition we've created? And then taking that a layer below, you'd say, not only are we identifying the companies, but we're also looking to identify the contacts within the companies that would be on our list to engage with. And then once that identification is done, then you move to the engage stage, where you come together as a team, you come up with a target account plan, you start to build the content that you would use, and then you come up with a strategy of how we're going to get that in front of people. You execute, and then you're continuing to refine over time until hopefully you close the deal.
And talking about that execution step, what are some of the channels? What are some of the touch points that you might use? Because I think this goes so much beyond traditional paid ads and much deeper than that, for example.
Yeah, I mean that's one of the fun things about account-based marketing is there's so many channels that you can take to engage with people. I think there really is to be successful too. It should be leveraging a number of channels at the same time. So again, it's going to vary in terms of touch points for who you're targeting, because a lot of it is the persona research of the individuals in those companies. You need to make sure that you are targeting them in a channel that actually fits for them. So it could run the gamut, though. It could be email, it could be cold call, it could be targeted ads, display ads, it could be direct mailers, it could be like in-person meetups, or I mean, really pretty much any way you can get in front of them, you're going to, because again, when you're starting off with ABM, a lot of times these are companies that have never heard of you. They don't know why they should work with you. You're being proactive here, so you need to make sure you're getting in front of them, and that's going to take more upfront effort to do so. And so leveraging as many channels as you can is going to be helpful there.
And this is so much different than standard lead generation, where you're going out, you're trying to get a pool of prospects and turn some of them into customers, and it becomes very straightforward in that sense to determine what your return is. Take your profit from those customers divided by your ad spend. But ABM tends to be a little bit different. How would you go about judging the success of your ABM campaigns?
I think there are a couple kind of common metrics that are looked at, and you bring up a good point that you really should be measuring your success over time, because these ABM campaigns, they tend to take a longer period to close a deal than you would with a standard sales cycle, just because you're putting in all this effort up front with the research, then you're putting in all the effort creating the content, then you're putting in all this work to proactively reach out and try to get a bite. So it is going to take a lot of time, and you do want to continue to monitor and measure the results to make refinements over time. So that's definitely important. In terms of like specific metrics that people use, I would say one would be based on the engagement rate that you're seeing. Again, because the idea here is you have identified companies that are perfect fit for your product, and you've done all this research to create something customized for that person. So based on that logic, they should be engaging with your outreach. And if they're not engaging, if you see the engagement rates are equal to or lower than just your standard sales and marketing, that could be a red flag and an opportunity to reassess and determine, is the target account list that we created, is this actually a good fit for our company, or did we make a mistake here? Have we identified the right people, or should we expand this to someone else? Or is the messaging off, and did we create something that actually we thought was going to resonate, but it's not an exact fit? So I think engagement rate of outreach is a really common place that you want to continue to monitor over time. I would say on top of that, the win rate overall of those deals is something that you want to monitor, because again, the idea here is all the effort that you're putting into it should lead to results that have a higher success rate than your standard sales operations would. And you're not going to win every single account that's on your target account list. That's not expected, but you should be doing better than if you weren't creating something very personalized for a specific company.
And that's a great point as well, because you do have that target account list. So you have, and let's say, it's 100 companies. If any of those 100 companies close, well, at some point, your ABM marketing efforts must have helped move them along if you were doing your targeting right and if you were getting in front of those accounts.
Yeah, exactly. And again, through ABM, you're working, sales and marketing are very closely aligned with one another, and they should know exactly what each is doing and who they're reaching out to, and build off of that. So the additional coordination, the additional support that sales is getting from marketing and vice versa, that should also be leading to a higher close rate. So then if you're seeing like, oh, we're putting all this time and effort and resources behind adding this specific company to an ABM strategy, and we're closing at an equal rate than we were previously, like that's probably, there should be some reassessment there. So yeah, and then I would say one other thing too that is probably a good idea to continue to monitor is the actual deal size of the deals that are closing, because it may be great that people are engaging with you more because of ABM and you're closing more deals more because of ABM. But then if you see that the actual dollars coming in through ABM efforts aren't that much higher than what you were seeing with your standard sales, then that's definitely a problem, because these ABM efforts should be towards really high value global, big companies are going to bring you a lot of value, and the ROI needs to be there. If it's the same, then it doesn't make sense, and you probably need to reevaluate things.
And that's a great point, and that's one of kind of the the marketing angles to get into ABM in the first place. Is not only will you get more deals, you'll get deals from customers who are a better fit for your company, so they should have a higher lifetime value, bigger deal sizes, and they're people that you could even continue this relationship after the first closed deal and keep that account growing even beyond closing the sale.
A lot of times people overlook that stage where they put in so much effort into identifying the companies and then closing the deal, that then they forget that, you've put in all this effort, like we need to make sure this remains a customer. And there's, the expansion opportunities within it, but just like, following, best practices around like continuing to service that customer, making sure they're getting that white glove treatment is really important too.
And I think that's really important to remember, is that ABM marketing doesn't just stop when the deal is closed. It keeps going until your customer is an evangelist and then some.
Definitely, yeah. Because at the end of the day, if a company is included on your target account list for ABM, it's because they're such a high value business. They're such a good fit for what you do that you don't want to lose them. It's it's something that they're going to be on the top of your list, and you want to make sure you're treating them well.
So let's change gears now and take a look into the crystal ball. Where do you see ABM going over the next 3 to 5 years?
I would say that's a good question. I think it's going to continue to increase in popularity. I think, like, I mentioned 2016, I hadn't heard of it. It's now like very standard, and it's something that, HubSpot, which is all about inbound marketing, they recognize the importance of it, and they realize that inbound and ABM can work in conjunction with one another, and they want to be able to help provide people the opportunity to run ABM through HubSpot. So I think just continuing to see more and more softwares embrace this methodology and continue to have it become more accessible to companies is going to be a trend. Because if you look at where ABM was 10 years ago, it was pretty limiting in which businesses could actually engage with it, just because not only was it that time commitment and resource commitment, but then once you identified those contacts, to be able to actually engage with 100 accounts, or I've got customers that they've got thousands of accounts on their target account list, like without the software available to automate that and allow you to communicate with a large number of people and manage all these different businesses and groups at the same time, like that just wasn't feasible for the average company. So I think the kind of democratization is continuing of letting more and more people go into this methodology. And that's in terms of trends. I think as automation continues to get smarter, it's just going to open up more doors. Like HubSpot just 2 weeks ago launched a new product offering called Operations Hub, and one of the features of that is it allows for programmable automation. So you can use like JavaScript libraries to build custom code to be able to have the workflow tool communicate with software outside of HubSpot. And as soon as I heard that, like, the first thing I thought was, how can we apply this towards ABM? Because there's so many softwares out there, and anyone that's running ABM, they're going to have multiple components to their tech stack. So the ability to combine them and have them talk to one another and automate, that's just going to make it even more accessible for more people. So I think
that's a great,
yeah.
And that's a great vision for the future. If ABM becomes more accessible and more businesses, more marketers of, small and mid-sized companies get to be able to experience that and use it and really see, how that can impact their business, that sounds like a bright future for ABM marketing.
For sure. I hope so. I mean, I would say the other thing that I'm interested to monitor, and truthfully, I don't know where it's going to end up, but I think the increased regulations that we've seen in things like GDPR and then the CCPA, like I think that's going to be interesting to monitor to see how that impacts account-based marketing strategies, because I don't have an answer as to how it will. Maybe I have some ideas, but I think that's something that is definitely going to be top of mind for sales and marketers.
I think you're absolutely right there. And I think, permission-based marketing is one of the terms that we hear now getting thrown around. And, having an ABM strategy that personalizes messages and that gives, your target contacts valuable resources, that's, what we've been talking about at Bloom, at least, is the best way to get around these new privacy regulations and new privacy implementations by companies like Apple, is just to give your prospects what they want, and then they'll be happy to hear from you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. And there are lots of different channels too. Like that's one of the nice things about it, is even if some channels like marketing email is more regulated now, that's ultimately a good thing for the customer, and it's something it can be frustrating to hear and think of initially as a marketer, as a sales rep, but ultimately if the customer is happier, it's going to be a better experience when they do communicate with you. And then it's just finding a way to navigate those changes to get out in front of them in a way that is in compliance with regulation, but also, like you said, provides them with the value that they're going to want to opt in and want to continue that conversation.
Oh, fantastic. Thank you so much, Alex, for taking the time to talk to us today. Again, Alex Brustowicz, Senior Customer Success Manager at HubSpot. It was a pleasure having you.
Yeah, my pleasure. Thanks for inviting me.
Thank you so much, Rob and Alex, for this conversation. I feel like that was highly insightful. For those of you watching, make sure to follow Bloom on social media so you don't miss our next episode, or visit themakeitbloom.com to learn more about our agency and our services. See you next time.